We regret to inform you that we are unable to accept your application to...
But what happened? How come my parents or the state or the university didn't look ahead?
Before you were talking about college, where'd you go to school?
I traveled around a lot as a child, and I went to so many schools, about different school a year. Or every year and a half, I'd go to a different one. I finished up at UCLA.
What, you went all the way to the degree?
Yep.
Did you learn anything? I mean, was it worth going to school?
No, I didn't learn too much. The only reason I did it was because I didn't want to go in the Army, and I didn't want to work, and school was fairly easy for me, so I just kept doing it.
How did the Doors come about in the first place, then? Was it while you were still in college?
No, it was after I got out of college, and I wanted to see, I finished up in the film school, because I wanted to make movies, so you know how difficult it is to break into the movie game. So I just kind of wandered around. I was living down at the beach in abject poverty. And just kind of, for no reason at all, I started writing some songs. They just kind of popped into my head. And I ran into Ray, who was at the film school also, and he'd been working in bands since he grew up in Chicago, and he'd been doing it for a long time. So I showed him some of the songs, and we said, hey, let's get a band together. So we did.
Jim Morrison could only have been a success at being an artist. He could have only been, Jim Morrison was destined to be the lead singer of the Doors and a poet. That's what Jim Morrison was. That was his destiny. I don't think Jim Morrison could have done anything else. I think he could only have done, he could only do lead singer / poet. That's exactly what he was. That's what he was born to do, and by God, he fulfilled it. He fulfilled that destiny, except that destiny also contained, in the 60s and still does today, it contains a trap, it contains a tragic flaw. Fulfilling that destiny, you may have to sacrifice your body. You may have to sacrifice yourself. You may have to sacrifice this mortal life to attain that immortality. And unfortunately, that's what Jim Morrison had to do, as have Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin and Kurt Cobain and so many others. A tragic part of rock and roll and fulfilling the rock and roll destiny of stardom, or the rock and roll stardom destiny, is that it contains the seeds of your own destruction. And that's the myth that Jim Morrison lived out. That's the tragic myth. I'd give it all up, man, if he was still alive. God, I'd go, all the income, all the fame, all the notoriety, all the, the rock gods. I would give up all of that and say, for Jim Morrison to be alive today. God, I miss that guy. We had fun, let me tell you. That's what I hated about the Oliver Stone movie. We had fun. It was a good time in the 60s. I'm here to tell you, folks, as a survivor of the 60s, they were great. They were fun. We were high. We made love, not war. We were going to change the world. And Jim Morrison was on the front lines of the whole thing, man. God, it was fun.
Dionysus and Apollo, self-destruction and creativity don't always come in the same package. Picasso lived to 90. But with Jim, they came together. And sad on a personal level, difficult to lose him.
change. I'm the air you breathe, food you eat, friends you greet in the swollen street. Wow! Give me change, give me change. Get loose. I live uptown, I live downtown, I live all around. I had money, yeah, I had none. I had money, yeah, I had none. But I never been so broke that I couldn't leave Well, I'm the air you breathe, food you eat, friends you greet in the swollen street. Wow! You gotta see me change, see me change. Yeah, leaving town on a midnight train. Gotta see me change, 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 change,
Wasn't it on the last last album that Paul Rothschild was no longer on the case? Or
Yeah.
what happened there?
Oh, I don't know. I think he was preoccupied with something. But, he blamed it on the fact that he didn't like the music or something, which was silly because there was some great music on that last album.
Who came in and finished the album?
Well, Paul never started.
Oh.
Bruce and Vonick did it with us, co-produced.
How were you happy with the last album?
Yeah, very much.
Was that the weird scenes inside the gold mine? Oh no, the lady,
No, yeah, it was L.A. Woman.
L.A. lady. Yeah. What had you written in that one?
An L.A. Woman?
Yeah, L.A. woman.
No, just the music.
For a lot of the songs. Or?
Yeah. And I did write the words too to a couple of them. Love Her Madly.
Don't you love her madly? Don't you need her badly? Don't you love her ways? Tell me what you say. Don't you love her madly? Wanna be her daddy? Don't you love her face? Don't you love her as she's walking out the door? Like she did 1,000 times before. Don't you love her ways? Tell me what you say. Don't you love her as she's walking out the door? All your love, all your love, all your love. All your love is gone.
everybody, welcome to the 6th and final episode of my Doors album Deep Dive. Yes, final episode. I'm not going into the albums without Jim Morrison. I'm not going into American Prayer. I had a request to do the Absolutely Live album, but I just can't. These episodes are very time intensive. They take a lot of work. They take a lot of meticulous going through video and all that. And I just don't have the energy to do any more Doors albums. I love the Doors, don't get me wrong, but I'm just going to stick with their Morrison studio albums and then move on to other things. So I'm talking about, obviously, their 6th album, L.A. Woman. This was the end of the road for the Doors. It was released on April 19th, 1971, and would be their final album with Jim Morrison. Shortly after the album was released, he took off for Paris. 2 months and 2 weeks after this album was released, Jim Morrison would pass away in a bathtub in Paris. And the rest is history. Jim Morrison would be an icon, a musical icon for the ages, and the Doors will go into history as one of the greatest bands of all time. So when the Doors entered the studio, they had a couple of sessions with Paul Rothchild. Paul was very bored and he said, I don't want to do this anymore. I think we've gone as far as we can as a team. And so he said, why don't you guys just produce yourselves? I'm just not interested in producing you. And you don't seem to be interested in the music that you're playing anymore. So Bruce Botnick, who had been the Doors engineer, stepped in and helped the Doors produce the album themselves. And what an album it is. This happens to be my favorite Doors album, and it's very hard to pick a number one. The first album is great. Strange Days is great. Morrison Hotel is fantastic. All the Doors album in one way or another are just great, great albums. But this one just happens to be my personal favorite. And they brought in Jerry Sheff, who had been bass player for Elvis Presley, to play bass on here. And it has very much a live feel. A lot of what you hear are live performances. Jim Morrison singing over the live performances. There was not a lot of overdubbing done on this album, and I think that's why it sounds so fresh and it sounds so vibrant and so exciting. It's just a great album to listen to. So anyway, let's get into the songs on this album. So it starts off with The Changeling, one of the funkiest, up-tempo, great groove that the Doors lay down on this song. Absolutely love it. I love the keyboard work on here. Once they settle into that rhythm, it is so intoxicating. And then Jim Morrison comes in on the vocals. Great guitar solo from Robbie Krieger on here, and then the band gets back into the groove, and before you know it, the song is over. But I absolutely love this song, and I love all of the outtakes as they are working through this song. One of my favorite Doors opening tracks. Then we have Love Her Madly, which was the, I believe it was the only single off of this album, a Robbie Krieger composition. I like this one a lot. Growing up, my dad had this album. This is an original copy, and then this is like a 70s repress. Anyway, get that out of the way. But my dad had a copy of this album. He used to play that song all the time, and so I just developed an affection for it. But yeah, I do like it a lot. I love the guitar work on it. I love the rhythm of the song. I love Jim Morrison's voice. And his voice on this album sounds different from any other Doors album except for the song Maggie McGill on Morrison Hotel. There's more of a harshness to his vocal. His voice sounds a bit more rugged. And Jim Morrison had been through a lot. He was sentenced to a year in jail for public nudity, even though there was no evidence of it. But anyway, he got convicted, and he also got convicted for using profanity in public. Can you imagine a year in jail for that? So he was facing some prison time, and his lawyers had appealed that conviction, and so he had run away to Paris. But anyway, at this point, he was really run down. He was not in the best of shape. Alcoholism had taken its toll. all of the pressures of fame, all of his legal troubles had really worn him down. But he was very excited to be doing a blues album, and so his vocals on this record in particular. You can hear that raggedness. Even though he was only 27 years old, it sounds like he's in his 50s on this record. So anyway, after the Love Her Madly, we have one of the first true blues rock songs on here where Jim Morrison gets to let loose on the vocals and emulate some of his favorite blues idols. Been Down So Long. I love the rugged blues stomp of the music on here. Jim Morrison's vocal is so raw. It's so great. I love the slide guitar from Robbie Krieger. Very cool.
Well, I've been down so goddamn long that it looks like up to me. Well, I've been down so very damn long that it looks like up to me. Yeah, why don't one you people come on and set me free? I said, Warden, 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 won't you break the lock and key? I said, Warden, 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 won't you break your lock and key? Yeah, come along here, mister. Come on, let the poor boy be.
Then we get into a very slow blues, which I love. They do this just as effectively as they do the more up-tempo blues songs. Cars Hiss by My Window. It's a very lazy, slow, takes its time. I love Jim's vocal on here. I love at the end where his voice is emulating like a harmonica, a blues harp. It's so cool. This song just goes at a very slow pace, but I love every minute of it.
The cars hiss by my window like the waves down on the beach. The cars hiss by my window like the waves down on the beach. I got this girl beside me, but she's out of reach. Headlight through my window, shining on the wall. Headlight through my window, shining on the wall. Can't hear my baby, though I call and call.
Then the epic, iconic, one of the Doors' most famous songs, an anthem to be sure, the Ode to the City of Angels, Los Angeles, L.A. Woman. What am I going to say about this song? It's just amazing. It's such a long song, and it goes through so many different suites, so many different tempos. It's fast, then it's slow, then it moves into some different interesting rhythmic patterns. It's a great song.
Are you a lucky little lady in the city of light? Or did you know the lost angel? City of night, city of night, city of night, city of night. Woo! Come on! Hills are filled with fire. If they say I never loved you, you know they are a lie. alleys roam. Cops in cars, the topless bars, never saw a woman so alone, so alone, so alone, so alone. Motel money, murder madness. The chain of mood from glad to sadness. Mr. Mojo rising, Mr. Mojo rising, Mr. Mojo rising, Mr. Mojo rising, got to keep on rising. Mr. Mojo rising, Mr. Mojo rising, Mojo rising, got the mojo rising, Mr. Mojo rising, got to keep on rising, riding, riding, on riding, riding, on riding, riding, I got to riding, riding, hey, riding, riding, I got whoa, yeah, riding, oh, yeah. Well, Chicanina down about an hour ago. Took a look around, they went with a wind blow. With a little girl in a Hollywood bungalow. Oh, you a lucky little lady in the city of light. Oh, just another long thing, yo. City of night. City of night. City of night. City of night. Wow. Oh.
The Doors are just cooking on this song. And again, it might be overplayed to many of you, but again, listen to it with fresh ears and you will appreciate, much like Roadhouse Blues, just what a fantastic band the Doors were and what an amazing song LA Woman is. Of course, you've got the Mr. Mojo Rising, which was an anagram for Jim Morrison, very clever with the lyrics. It was many, many years before I knew what Mr. Mojo Rising was. But a classic song. Side 2 opens up with L'America, which is the first time Jim Morrison sounds like the Jim Morrison of the early albums. His voice is a little softer on here, more of a psychedelic flavor to it. You have some spooky keyboards by Ray Manzarek, but it's a cool song. It picks up a little bit, starts to get into a little harder edge kind of a song. Then we got that little middle break, which sounds very Doorsy. And then back into the grinding rhythm of L'America, just another great song. Then Hyacinth House, this is probably my least favorite song on the album, if I had to pick one. I think all these songs are great, but this one, Hyacinth House, I don't really know how to categorize it. It's just kind of a Doors song in the old style. I appreciate it for what it is. And I love at the end where he's singing about, I need a brand new friend. Love that one. The third song is Crawling King Snake, dominated by the electric piano. Love this one. Jim Morrison, again, sinking his teeth into a classic blues song. The arrangement could be a little grittier, but I don't care. I love the way that they play this song. Classic blues. And then The Wasp, which is a song that the Doors had kicking around since 67 or 68. There is footage of them playing it in Europe in 1968.
I want to tell you about Texas radio and a big beat. It comes out of the Virginia swamps, cool and slow, with a backbeat narrow and hard to master. Some call it heavenly in its brilliance, others mean and rueful of the Western dream. I love the friends I have gathered together on this thin raft.
And it's a bit of Jim Morrison poetry that they set to music. I love kind of the strident beat of this song. It's very different to the arrangement that was used earlier on, where you just kind of had a little bit of a soundscape. The Doors were just kind of playing some soft music in the background.
I want to tell you about Texas radio and a big beat. Comes out of the Virginia swamps, cool and slow with money and precision, and a backbeat narrow and hard to master. Some call it heavenly in its brilliance, others mean and rueful of the Western dream.
And then to end the album, to end the Doors' career with Jim Morrison, Riders on the Storm.
So one day we're jamming in the studio, in our rehearsal studio, in the Doors workshop before we started recording. And for some reason or another, Robbie was playing his twang guitar. And we were doing, old cowpoke went riding out one dark and windy day. And Jim said, I got lyrics for that. And he had Riders on the Storm. Riders on the Storm. And I said, wait, okay, that's great, man. Riders on the Storm. We can't do Vaughn Monroe. Old cowpoke went riding out one dark and windy day. So I said, let me see what I can do with this. And here's what I came up with. We got to put some jazz to it, make it dark. And sure enough, this is what happened. But before we get to that, Jerry Sheff, when he comes in, we've got the whole thing together, and Jerry Sheff says, what's the bass line? I said, like simple. E minor, A major. He said, oh man, that's impossible. I said, what, for you? That's not impossible. Look at this. It's like nothing to it. And he said, that's on the piano, Ray. That's on the keyboard. Sure, that works great on the keyboard. There's nothing to it. Watch this on the bass guitar. And I don't know what the hell he did. He had to go through machinations, like turning his wrist up virtually upside down, inside out, trying to play it. And I said, oh, I'm sorry, man, but it sounds so good. And it's so easy on the keyboard that you got to play this. And he went, okay, I'll play it.
Probably my favorite Doors song of all time. I just love it. From the rain that opens it and closes it, the rain bookends this particular song, but it's gorgeous. It has very much a Southern Gothic kind of feel to me for whatever reason. And it's a tale of a killer on the road. I believe this was the plot for Jim Morrison's Highway movie, which he was working on prior to his death. But it is an incredible song. Everybody shines on this track. None more so than Ray Manzarek. Ray Manzarek's keyboard on this song is just incredible. But it's a great way to wind down the Doors' career.
the storm. Riders on the storm. Into this house we're born. Into this world we're thrown. Like a dog without a bone, an actor out alone. Riders on the storm. There's a killer on the road. His brain is squirming like a toad. Take a long holiday. Let your children play. If you give this man a ride, sweet family will die. Killer on the road. Yeah. Girl, you gotta love your man. Girl, you gotta love your man. Take him by the hand. Make him understand. The world on you depends. Our life will never end. Gotta love your man. Yeah. Riders on the storm. Riders on the storm. Into this house we're born. Into this world we're thrown. Like a dog without a bone, an actor out on loan. Riders on the storm.
what it is. It's a question of longevity. It's like it's that old thing, like a first novel. They usually give the cat a break, and everybody kind of pats him on the back. And then the second one, they really chop him up. And then if he does a few more, and shows he has staying power, then, they say, well, welcome back to the fold. The human family embraces you. And I think it'd be the same way with us. We just have to hold out for a little while, and everyone one day will realize, wow, they're just like old friends. They've been around for years now, and, they're part of our national psyche. I guess we'll just, accept them.